Hey there, team. Welcome back. Good evening. Let's pick right back up where we left off. My name is Tiffany Kennedy, and I am the founder of the Intelligent Project Manager LLC. So, in our first series, we created a structure or a workspace for a company called Terra Guardian LLC. So, in creating that organization, we then added some organization to our organization by creating a set of folders within our project workspace. To add to that, we then created some subfolders, which you see me kind of highlighting over in our projects folder to correspond with some of the actions that we took in building out our process during our last session. So, taking a look at our main project intake board, we have broken that down into several groups. So, at the very top, we have projects that have been proposed. As we continue to scroll down the screen, we have projects that are active, canceled, completed, or on hold. Taking it a step further, we added some customization and then turned that customization via our columns into form entries that feed the front end of our intake process. So, what I mean by that is each column that you currently see on the screen as we continue to scroll, those then were turned into our form entries. If I click on our intake form, you can see that we have that there. We've customized that so that as users bring projects to us, we are getting the exact information that we need in order to make the evaluation of whether we are going to proceed with this project and determine ways in which we can be successful, or whether or not it may not be feasible for us to move forward with that project right now. So going back to our main board, which is our intake board, we also then created automations. So I'll jump over and we'll take a look at what we created in our last session and where we still need to go today. So we have an automation for when a project is canceled, and we also have an automation set up for when a project has been moved to active. Now, remember, our canceled automation, it differs slightly from our active automation in the sense that when we have a project that is moved from proposed to active, we had the three things that we wanted to occur. We wanted to get that notification that that project has been moved to active or has been changed to active status. We wanted to then create a new project board, which we'll discuss as we continue on our series. We wanted to create a new board or a template for our project plan that would then be housed in our active folders within our project structure. And then we also wanted to move that item or that project, that row entry on our intake form down to our active group to signify that that project is active. So it's a little bit more involved on the active automation versus the canceled automation, but we still have some good things going on with our canceled as well. So, in starting off, what we are going to do, or our game plan for tonight, is we are going to create our two remaining automations for this intake board. We are going to set up some views, which will help us better visualize this data. And we'll talk through views that we can create from the board itself. And time permitting, we'll jump into creating a dashboard that we can use, and we can house it within the our board views, or we can house it within our folders. That's going to be a judgment call. I'll probably go through how you can do it both ways and continue to build out our intake process. So I've said a lot, and I think that's enough talking for me. Let's just jump right in. So going over to our automate tab, remember you can get to this one of two ways. You can click on automate. That's indicated by a little robot to the right of the integrate button, or we can jump up to our drop down menu. We click on board power ups, and then that will take us over to automations. So let's click on that. And we're not going to create we're not going to create a automation using a template. We'll just jump right back into where we left off. And the beauty about some of these automations is that we can duplicate. And so we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just tailoring it to what we need to have happen in the moment. So I'm going to duplicate this twice. One for when our project has been completed. So let's change that. So when that status is changed to completed, I want that notification and I want that item within our main intake board to be moved down to the completed group. really quickly, let's check on our notification and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. Yep, look right there. So we are going to ask the user or the leader as part of their standard work, when this project has been completed, we want to make sure or ensure that they move this board to the completed folder within our project's folder structure. Now, remember, the reason why we want to have that happen is because we don't have a way to automate moving a board from one folder to another. We can move items throughout groups using automations, but we still have to have that manual process just as part of the standard work for now. That might change in the future, but as part of our standard work, we want to make sure that the user has that notification with that set of instructions so that we have projects in the right place or project documentation in the right place. So let's create that automation. Excellent. And we have one more to create. So let's duplicate again. And for this automation, when a project is moved to on hold, I also want to be notified. And because I know I need to check this as part of my standard work, let's do that now. Okay, so we want that board to be moved to the on hold folder when or if that project has been changed to on hold status. So let's hit OK there. I nearly hit complete. And then one more. Okay, so then we're going to move that item to the on hold group. That's the set of groups that are on our main intake board. So let's create automation. Let's create that automation and let's run them. We always want to make sure everything is working as we expect it to. So let's do a test. Okay. Okay, so the public transit upgrade, let's test putting that. First off, let's create it so that we can go through each step of the process. Let's pretend as if this project has been moved to active and it's an in-flight project. So remember the three things that we want to have happen when we change the project to active status. We have our notification. Look, you can see right there. Okay. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see that the public transit upgrade board. And let's pretend that we have gotten as far in our process where now we've templated out project plans, and now I actually have a custom project plan for this project instead of just a blank board. So that's what we would be looking at this point in time. So that's the second step of the process that has happened. And then if I go back over to my main intake board, you see that that project, that public transit project, is no longer in our proposed projects. It has been moved down to our active project group. Excellent. So we know that if nothing else, we know that the automations we created in our last session, they still hold up today. All right. So now, for whatever reason, we don't know why, that project has now been moved to on hold. Let's see what happens. Excellent. So let's open up our notifications. Two things should be happening. I clicked on it too soon, so I don't want to write an update, but I do want to go back to my notifications. Okay, so I got the notification. It has been moved or changed to on hold. Also, the ask, please move this to the on hold folder. You see that the project itself has been moved down to my on hold group. And you'll see why this is important as we start building out our dashboard, why I want things in specific groups. And then last but not least, as part of my end of the bargain, holding up our standard work, let's move the projects board down a bit. And you can do this one of two ways. You can drag and drop, as you see I'm doing here, or let's put it back. You can move to folder, and I'm just going to type ON to bring up my on hold. And let me move myself out of the way there. As you can see, now that project that project's board is down in the on hold projects folder. All right, excellent. So that first one works as we expected. We're in good shape. Now let's test out when a project has been completed. So the solar panel installation. Let's move that to completed. Excellent. I have some nice confetti there. That's always good. All right, so of course, let's check our standard. All right, I have my notification. Excellent. Where to move it to the completed. So let's do that. Solar panel installation. And just for ease of visibility, I'm going to use the menu option to move that project. So I've searched for completed projects. Now that board has been moved in the folder structure. And last but not least, am I missing anything? Nope. We can see down here that the solar panel installation has been moved. That item has been moved to the completed group. Easy, too easy. So we will continue to build out automations and get more sophisticated as we move along in our process or in our workflow. But this is enough to get you started with using that. So now let's take a look at our board before we jump into looking at views and see if there's some opportunity to input some more data into it. And the reason is we start actually building out our dashboard. I want to really have some robust pieces that we can pull from so you can see the different ways in which you can grab in and pull in information that is beneficial to you and the different ways in which or the different use cases that can come out of this. So one thing I think we can do, because we have the data points, let's create a column. Let's create a column for the timeline, but instead of the timeline, let's call it duration. And I think the best way to do this, just from an ease of use standpoint, is let's create a formula. And so what I want to have happen before we even actually start that process, what I want to do is take the end date or the estimated end date, since we're working at a high level right now. The end date minus the start date should give me a project duration. Again, just keeping this very, very high level. So first off, let's rename this so I can take my caps lock off. Duration. Okay, so we've set up our duration as our column's title, and I'm going to start off with my formula. So one thing that you can do if you're not very familiar with using the formulas in Monday.com's Work OS, there are several drop downs that you can click on, and as you hover over them, you'll get a brief rundown of what to expect. Also, if you click on this question mark, it will take you directly to learning resources that you can use that will get you up to speed very quickly. So never fear, you can jump into this as easily as you need to. So what I'm going to do is select, I can do either or. I can do days or I can do work days. For the purpose of this demonstration, uh, let's do days. And what I did was I just clicked on that days, and now I'm going to open up a pair of curly braces and type in my start date, another pair of curly braces. And these, I'm essentially passing parameters to this function. So actually, I nearly did this wrong. I might end up with negative days, and that's not what we want. So start date, my end date minus my start date. And let's set our formula. Okay. So now I want to show you some shortcuts or a shortcut on how we got there. So let's put in days again, open and close parentheses. And this is very similar to what you would see on spreadsheet software as well. I think it's just a little bit easier because I'm not having to type in the equal sign and all that other information. I can get straight to what I need, which is days. All right. Not equals. Give me the days. All right. I'm typing in days. And hit the once I hit the open curly braces, you'll notice something. I'll get a drop down of every single column that's in my table. So this is a lot easier to remember than having to say, okay, I need curly brace, then okay, what else do I need there? It's very suggestive or intelligent in what you might be looking for. So I'm going to hit my end date, comma, because now I'm going to pass another parameter. Okay, so I hit my curly brace again. It brings me up the list of my columns again within my board. I'm going to hit start date. And now I can set formula. And I get the exact same thing. Down here at the in the sum row, let's change that to median. I know we don't have a whole bunch of data points, but I really do like using the median as opposed to the average, just in case I have a whole bunch of outliers there or my data is potentially skewed. I want to make sure that I can get as accurate as of information as I need at any given point in time. So that's why we're going to use that. All right. And here, case in point, again, not a big data set, but when I take a look at the canceled projects and everyone with the exception of one is hovering right around, mid 500s. And then we have a project that's just shy of what, maybe 4 years. You can see why it becomes why it's important to me to use the median. So we have our duration. Let's add another column because I think it's going to become important, especially as we talk about automating our processes and how robust we can continue to build out our intake process. We might want to take a look at being able to create project templates based on the project type. And we don't really have that in there right now. Again, this is a fictional company, right? So it's not detracting from anything, but I think it's really helpful to again just show the different ways in which we can use this tool. So let's call this project type. Okay. And within the project type, let me just do a quick scan of the types of projects that we have and how we can start parsing this out a little bit. Okay. So let's remember how we edit our labels. Let's do that. Looks like we have some public works. Let's put public infrastructure. Infrastructure. Alrighty. It's kind of distracting when that pops up sometimes because it's like I'm looking down, looking up. Um, looks like we have some modernization projects. Modernization. It looks like I believe I got that right. Modernization. Let's sound it out. Let's get some, looks like we have some technology. Let's just call it technological or technology. Ah, technical. Let's do that. Looks like, so I see some solar power. So maybe some regulatory projects, regulatory slash compliance. Another one you might see is maybe an expansion type project. Oh, great. Yeah, right down there, restoration. So let's do that. Maybe a cultural revitalization. That's going to be too long. Let's just do cultural, maybe heritage. And these look very similar to the colors we already have. So let's break that up a little bit. Add some more razzle dazzle in there. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Click too quickly. So just bear with me for a second. We'll get through these. Okay. I think that can work. Yeah. That works fine. I'm not going to be picky on these colors, right? It's we have to move with a purpose here. All right, so bear with me. I'm just going to add some detail here, and I will speed this up. Okay, excellent. All right, so we've assigned some project types to our projects, and we can go on and on, right? There's no limit to some of the things that we might want to evaluate. For example, we can probably break down risk, priority, and impact quite a bit more and probably assign actual risk scores, or maybe take a look at supplier readiness or estimated supplier readiness, maybe social impact scores, um, stakeholder impact scores. The list goes on and on. I think for where we are right now, and to get us started with building out our dashboard views, I think we have enough to get started on. And again, as we continue building, we will continue to iterate. So build, refine, build, refine until we have something that we really, really like and is practical and makes sense for the work that we are doing. As we begin creating our views, I want to note that we can do it in several ways. So we can add a view here. That's where we're going to start off with essentially building out what's going to become our dashboard. Or we can go over here in our folder, in our projects folder, create in folder, new dashboard. So I'm going to, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to start off with creating a view or adding a view to our board, and then we'll go from there. And here's the reason why. When I think about my process, I have the front end of that intake process, which is my user-facing piece. This is how my work is going to come into my PMO. Or it doesn't have to be a PMO. It could be my business. It could be anything. This is how work is going to come in. This is how I'm going to organize it. It's going to be a conglomerate of my groups, the columns that I've used to customize my work, the hierarchy that I've set up, and then how am I now going to take that information and visualize it in a way that's digestible and easily readable for not only myself, but for anyone whom I might be working with or who might need that information. So I like the fact that this can be a one-stop shop for what I need to accomplish. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with creating a dashboard in the folder hierarchy. It's a choice. It is a choice. I'm just explaining my choices. So let's go over to our views menu, and we can create any type of view we want. I'm going to start off with a chart. And what we see here is that the chart is a reflection of the current status of our projects, and it's broken out by our different groups. So I think the easiest thing for us to do at this point in time is let's call this projects by not by intake. I feel like I'm using that word quite a bit. Maybe let's say projects by intake. There we go. Status. All right. Can't be avoided. I probably don't need that by, right? That's why I have my dash. Gets a little wordy. All right. So some things I can do is come here into my settings. I can turn this into a pie donut. You can use whatever chart you would like for the purposes of this video, especially with the type of data that we're dealing with. It makes sense and it seems most appropriate to either use a pie donut or a bar. So I'm going to stick with a bar right now, and then let's dive down. I have the option to say, oh, well, maybe I only want to look at proposed projects, or maybe I only want to look at completed. I'm going to leave this as all projects right now, or all groups, because I also have the option to filter as I need to. So there's no need for me to pull out any information. Not yet, not at this point in time. Let me leave this as is, and then we can filter as needed. So let's go over into more settings. Let's see if we need anything to change there. Maybe we can change this to descending. So I have a nice little slope coming down into my different statuses. And I think I like that better. So let's leave that as is. Okay. Some things that we looked at, we set up some data for our ROI. We set up some data for our, gosh, I have to take a look back over there, which is nice. I can just swing back as I need to. We can actually build in some widgets into our dashboard so that I don't have to click back over here. So let's just take a look really quick at some of the information that we have. So we have cost, benefit, ROI, duration, product. Okay, excellent. So let's go back over. And as quickly as I can, let me try to remember all of that. Estimated costs. And let's name this total estimated benefits. And we can stack these. Actually, let me move this over. Let's collapse our navigation so we have some more breathing room. Yeah, that's nice. Let's move this. Excellent. So now let's actually change the data that we're pulling in. So we do have total estimated costs. That's excellent right there. Let's go ahead and put our $ in front of our monetary value. There's nothing else to really change, and I'm going to leave groups as is, same as how we did for our bar graph. And then for our estimated benefits, let's make sure that we're pulling the right data there. So right now we have estimated costs checked. We'll go over to estimated benefits and put our $ in there as well. So we also had ROI. So let's get that in there. And I'm putting our estimated in front of everything because we haven't fully done our discovery yet. We're just making assumptions at this point. We don't have any concrete data. So let's update that. And percentage. And let's bring that. We don't need that many trailing numbers behind the decimal point. I think one will suffice. We only need the 10th. And let's add in one more for completeness. So we created the durations column and put our formula in there, and that should return a number as well. So let's go into our settings. There we go. And we do not want to sum this. So actually, let's go ahead and put our median in. And there we go. Now this is starting to look like a dashboard already. We have some key pieces of information, and I think we can keep going. I'm actually going to rename this. And let's call this intake. There's that word again, dashboard. And maybe I want to get more specific. 23, even though we're using data that's fictional, but maybe I wanted to have this for readability's sake because maybe I have more views that I'm going to create that aren't specific to 2023 and 2025. So just again, just that process discipline with our fictional company. So, all right, let's keep going. I'm going to add in another chart. And you know what? There's space for another one, so I'm going to put one right there too. Okay, so maybe not, but we'll come down to our Gantt. Oh, I did not want to create my own specific Gantt. So let's get rid of that. Or a Gantt outside of this. I wanted to create it within the chart. And I think I clicked on Gantt as opposed to clicking on add widget. So just a simple fix. We have the flexibility here where I can fix any error or perceived error with ease, which is nice. So let's change this, and maybe I might want to do, maybe let's take a look at ROI by project type. And let's go into our settings. And I'm going to leave this also as a bar graph, but let's just do some work. Actually, let me jump over to the x-axis first, and let's change the project type, and then we'll go back over to the Y and click on ROI. Okay. Wow. Let's change that to median. And one more thing, I'm going to go in some more settings, and I want this to be on a descending as well. I want it to be able to read this from left to right as easily as I can. Okay. So some things we're seeing already, just with all that we have in the pipeline so far, is that modernization, and I believe it's our regulatory and compliance projects seem to have the highest ROI. And we can start doing things like drilling down and taking a look at why once we start filtering, because right now we have all of our projects kind of lumped together. But maybe I might want to take a look at that and understand. Actually, let's go back and exit the drill down, and we can then hit filter. And right now we're just doing this within this specific chart. But if we go back to the main screen, we can see that as well. So let's take a look at the filters that we have just for our completed projects. We don't have a huge data set. I know that. So I'm not going to make any declarative statements. But for the purpose of this demonstration, it still does seem as though we have the highest estimated ROI from compliance projects. So why is that? Do we have low risk but high impact? Actually, we have high risk, low priority, but medium impact. Maybe let's take a look at the cost versus the benefit. Something's going on there. And it's fairly short in comparison to our other projects. So maybe as we were building out governance, and that's not going to be the purpose of this series. I think that's a separate conversation. But as we take a look at assessing projects or assessing business that's coming in, assessing jobs that you might take, maybe you're freelancing or maybe from a marketing standpoint, any this can apply fairly universally. Being able to drill down is what's important, and to understand the why behind the decisions that we intend to make. So let's exit this drill down. We're going to leave our chart as is. I think that looks great. And let's exit. And you can get back to that drill down anytime. You can just, let's take that filter off and just noticed it was still on there. But in the same way, you can get back to this drill down just as easily as I did. You click on that bar as part of your graph, it's going to open up a modal window for you. And then you can start drilling down and seeing what's going on with different projects. So for instance, we're taking a look at expansion projects right now. Because we don't have any filters on, I can see every expansion project by group. So right now it looks like we only have one in proposed status and one that's been canceled for whatever reason. Maybe as we move forward in time, we can start the conversation and get some details based on what happened, what occurred, maybe capturing some lessons learned and setting up our own repository for that. But again, very easy to kind of to start drilling down into this information and figuring out what's going on. Also can get information on files as well as activity for this specific project. Okay. Alrighty. So let's keep going. I keep doing this. So let's clear the filter. Oh, just exit drill down. It's late, so please bear with me. I'm a little loopy at this hour, but we will press on. So let's put in, we have space. So let's add another widget, and maybe let's, the same way that we have projects by intake status, maybe let's have projects by project type. So we'll add that in, and instead of doing a bar chart this time, for variety's sake, let's do a pie or a donut or something else. But I will say this is coming along. Our dashboard is really dashboarding. So, and it's just that easy. It's just that simple. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out process. As long as we understand the why, that's the biggest thing, right? We want to understand the why and then where. Where do I need to go to be effective? There we go. All right. So we have our breakdown of our projects by project type. And I can actually, it's not really going to make much of a difference, but I can sort this ascending, descending. I can put the values in instead of a percentage breakdown. I actually like the percentage. Let's go back to that, especially if we had, again, personal preference, but we can look at this any way, which way we want. I guess maybe I can leave it at value for right now because that's easier to just kind of quickly read. But there we go. We have a full breakdown of our projects by project type. So let's do that. Excellent. Okay. This is this is looking good. All right, so let's keep going. I started putting in a Gantt chart down here at the bottom. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, excellent. So with our Gantt chart, what we can now do, this is kind of hard to read. And as with everything that we've done up until this point, you should be able to easily understand the data you're looking at. So let's expand this out just a little bit so I have a full view of all the projects on our board. And now I don't really need to click on this, but let's click on auto fit and let's jump into the settings. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some color to this Gantt chart so that we can view projects by status as easily as we need to. So let's do that. And color by status. Excellent. Okay. So actually, let's color by group. And the reason I want to color by group is when I come out to my actual board, I can quickly get a feel of where we are with our projects. So we currently have it broken out by group, and I can easily read and understand what's happening with my projects at any point within this process. So my completed projects have started somewhere within Q4 of 2022, with the exception of my solar panel installation project. And they all seem to have around the same duration overall. My current in-flight projects, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects that are in flight. Scroll down and make sure I haven't missed one. All of those have started somewhere within Q1 of 2023 and at least 3 of them have around the same duration with the exception of my urban garden development and my bike and scooter lanes. I have several canceled projects for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's something I can probably just click on my bar. If I had some more information, I can easily get to that and figure out what was happening. But this is a really, really easy way to see what's going on. I know I have several projects that are in proposed status that are coming up somewhere between Q4 of 2023 and Q1 of 2024. I might want to get a jump on really diving into a review of these next 2, just because I only have a few months in which to make that decision. And then I have that public transit upgrade project that's on hold somewhere, that's slated to start somewhere towards the end of 2024. Easy. Too easy. Okay. As you saw earlier in the video, I was kind of flipping back and forth between my main table and my intake board. Well, the good news is I have a widget for that too. And I'm glad that happened because now I can actually demonstrate that. So let's just type in table. And there's a whole bunch of apps and widgets that you can add to bring in more customization to your workspace and to your view. For right now, I'm just going to focus on what's the most straightforward and basic to get us up and running. We can become as advanced as we need to without issue. It's just what's the current need? The current need is to be able to quickly visualize this data, and so that's where we are. The great part about the views, and you'll also see this when we go in to create a dashboard as it stands within a folder, is that I can just keep going. I can go on forever as I need to and get the usability out of this, which is awesome. But essentially, I don't have to click back and forth if I didn't want to. I have all of the information that I need here, and I can make edits as I need to, either from the Gantt, I can make them from the table. If I were to click down into my drill down, I can also get that information as needed. As you can see here, we did that a bit earlier, but just kind of showing you again, if you hadn't had the opportunity to see it, I can also select my columns and make changes as I need to there as well. So there's a lot of interconnectedness with this within this silo. I like that. I like that. It makes it so that it is not hard for me to accomplish what I need to do. All right, so let's filter. We can test out a couple of filters, and I think at that point we might end the video here as I'm starting to see just a little bit of lag in my system, and then we'll pick up with creating a new dashboard in our next video. And hopefully we can start going into creating some templates as well and templating out our project assignment process. All right, so let's get into some filters. Oh. Okay, so let's click on the filter. So we're going to just do quick filters for the purpose of this video. And as we, again, I feel like I say this quite a bit, but we will then, let's start with the basic and then we can move to advanced. So let's take a look at completed projects. To do that, I just have to click once. Everything's going to filter. As I mentioned a bit back, I'm starting to see just a little bit of lag in my computer. I think I'm running too many items in the background. Okay, excellent. So scrolling back up to the top of my screen really quickly, this estimated ROI is very high. Let's go in. And I'm going to just hammer this in. You can change this one of two ways. So there's a drop down at the bottom of the screen. And actually, if we go back out, I can just hit on sum and hit median. And that'll give me the same thing. I'm just going through the motions of opening up the ellipsis and showing you the options so that the more that you see it, the easier it becomes to navigate over time. Okay, so that's more realistic. I was like, man, I need to invest in whatever these projects are because 29%, that's amazing. So, okay, we have estimated ROI for these completed projects, 7.9%, duration 264 days. We see our costs and benefits. We had 4 projects in the pipeline, which we kind of talked through in the Gantt chart, and we can see the breakdown of projects overall. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Modernization and regulatory compliance seem to have the best ROI. And for public infrastructure is not doing too badly either. Technological improvements, not sure why or what's going on. Another low priority project, it seems low risk, but maybe just taking a look at the cost and the benefits just wasn't something that paid off very well for us. And again, I'm talking about a fictional company, right? So, don't beat me up too badly. These are all fictional numbers. So it's just what are we looking at and why are we looking at it? Let's take a look at one more if my system will be agreeable. And we can click on multiple tabs to view data. So we don't have to just look at complete. For instance, if I clicked on active and complete, just let it do its thing there. All right. So ROI, I'll just let it update for a second. ROI 6.4%. We see our cost and benefits the same way. We have that breakdown of what's been completed, what's active. Same thing, the breakdown here. Let's exit that drill down. And because we won't see that much change because we only have so many projects that are under review, but you see everything continues to update as we need it to. And you can continue and go on and on and on. Let's I think we can stop here. Yeah, I'm seeing too much of a lag and I want to make sure that I'm adding value in each session. So I think we can stop and we can pick back up in the next session and again, just continue to move forward. I'm really curious. I only ever use light view. So I actually want to see how this looks in dark. Oh, that's popping. That has some real pop to it. I actually kind of like that. I never use dark, but this might be something to consider. That is flashy. I love that. Let's go back over to our light. So this is where we're going to end for tonight, team. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Just as a quick recap, so we've added some more detail to our main board. We've created a dashboard view within our main board. We haven't touched our forms tonight, but we can always revisit that going forward. When we pick up, we'll continue on with the dashboard. We'll take a look at templating and we'll go from there. So I hope you all have a great night and thanks for joining. And we'll talk again soon.